Going to be demonstrating making cope and stick doors and miter doors with these pieces of equipment from Unique. This 265 is a single side cope machine. This 313 machine here does miter doors, and this shape and sand will be doing the stick work for the miter doors and putting the style profile on after the coping is done on the 265. We can also use this machine here for raised panels. Once the door is put together over here on the clamp table, it can come back over to this machine here and have the outside edge detail put onto this door. So we are going to use this machine here for stiles and raised panels and outside edge without taking tooling on or off the machine. Blue cart is going to be our cope and stick style door with a raised panel, and the black cart is going to be our style material for the miter doors with a raised panel. Obviously there are many different ways to do this. We are just showing you one example. So we're going to go ahead and get started here, and we're going to start the copes and start the stiles on this machine, and then we'll do some switching here as soon as those processes are completed. So over here on the 4522, the 422 machine, 400 series, 2 shape, 2 sand, we're just running stiles. He's going to grab some parts here. And if you had a return conveyor or another person, you could do this even faster, but doing it by yourself, it's a little bit more difficult because you have to feed and catch. So it helps to have an additional person or have a return conveyor. You'll see the parts come off here pretty quick. And go ahead and grab those for him just to help out a little bit. You can see the stiles are done. And then over here, Curtis is doing the coping and sticking of the different machines here. And you can see the coping right here. You have your copes, and then you can see the stiles have been done here. So now we have coping and sticking all going on at the same time. You see the stiles continue to be fed in here. And we'll watch Curtis over here do some coping. He's doing 4 parts at a time. You could just do 2 or less, but we did 4 over here. And this machine is actually outfitted with an HSK 63S spindle. It's kind of a special machine. You don't need to get that. You can get a very simplistic machine with just a belt drive and 1 cutter at a time if you'd like. You can see the stop can be moved in for doing less parts at one time. You see how safe this is. The hands are out here, the Lexan guards, the orange safety guarding. And it's very accurate, very safe way to cope and stick doors. Over here we're still doing stiles. And now that all these parts have been coped, we're actually going to go over here to the miter machine and start making some miter doors from the material that was done over here on this 422. Now you see that these parts have been profiled here. He's also then going to switch into the stiles on our cope and stick doors. Collection. So we have 2 parts here, and they can actually overlap each other. One goes over the top, the other. He's getting the pneumatics ready since we're sharing pneumatics on these machines right now. And he's going to run those parts face down. Or actually, I'm sorry, these are going to be ran face up. So face up is correct on these parts. You can parts in here in just a second. So that is a example cycle of how it works. You see the part gets put in to the stop there, goes through, it's shaped, gets the dowel drill, and then when it comes back, it's complete. You're going to pull them out, switch the sides here, do the other side, and that whole thing gets whacked off there. So all you have to do is make sure your parts are cut to size. You can see how fast that is. And he's going to put his parts over here and continue doing the rest of this part. And while he's doing that, we're over here running these parts. Still running some styles here. And then as soon as we're done doing these styles, we're actually going to switch to the raised panel on this machine. You can see some of these have the cope and the styles done on them now. Everything ready to roll. And I'll go ahead and hand these to him just to help him out. Going to switch to the raised panel over here, so he's going to shut the machine down. More miters over here, you can see. These parts. More miters going on. So he just got done adjusting the fence over here, and now he's getting ready to adjust the height. Depth in and out of the tool for the raised panel. And he's going to do that for each of the stations that is going to be used, including these sanders. Once that dialing in process is complete, then we can run our raised panels and have them shaped and sanded. Okay, we're working through these parts pretty quickly over here. About done. As you can see, both sides are going at the same time. About done here. Just a couple more parts left and we'll be ready for assembly once we get our raised panels. Okay, so we're going to run the raised panel now, shaped and sanded. We've got our cope and stick doors here and our miter doors here. We're just going to do all the raised panels at the same time. You can feed those through, it'll take them. So if you can get them closer together and your operator's feeding faster, it'll work just as good. Return conveyors are strongly suggested just so that you're not paying another employee to catch on one side. The machine will return back to you. Unique does not manufacture return conveyors. However, there are plenty of fine companies out there that can do this for you. And set that up for your machine. Save you time and save you money, save you labor. These are shaped and sanded. That set of panels is done. We're on to the last pass for this set of panels. There goes the last one now. And we've spent about 3 minutes and 20 seconds here, shaping and sanding, so right around 3 minutes, minus a little intro. And you have 10 raised panels shaped and sanded. Now that we have some parts made and we're putting some doors together, we'll show you us putting these spacers into the grooves themselves. We're going to use a unique spacer inserter. We're using these Synergy spacers, which are actually a biodegradable material, and they don't have any oil in them, so when they compress, and even if they were to break down over time, they're not going to leave spots in your doors like something that may be an oil product. We'll go ahead and show like these rails being put in, these inserts. See how it's just easy just to put them in, and then what that inserter does, it also shoves the ball down inside the groove, making assembly easier as well. Whereas if you were to take those balls and put them in one at a time with your fingers, they would not only take more time, but it would wear your fingers out, and the balls would be all over the place. Here you can see that the balls are all contained inside this unit, and the unit is a aluminum and steel and polycarbonate mix, so it's very strong. This polycarbonate is the same material that bulletproof glass is made from, so it is a very durable piece of equipment. It's not a plastic injection molded toy. This is a very industrial inserter and will last. We have our parts. We have two rails, being our top and bottom, that are coped, and then we have two stiles, and we have our center panel, and we're going to put them into this smaller unique clamp table and just pin them up. We're not even going to glue them, we're just going to pin them just for this purpose. This is a 3x6 clamp table, so we just put the parts in here and then shove them together, put the center panel in. We're doing everything face down here. Then after it's clamped, we will pin the joints. That way it won't come apart when we go to do the outside edge detail. So this is a pretty simple process, and as you see, it's not really lined up that great, but it doesn't have to be. you can just kind of get it started. And then when you click the little foot pedal here, you'll notice how it all clamps together nice and square. Now it'll also be held while we go ahead and take the pinner and pin this. Then once these are all pinned up, then we'll go ahead and be running the outside edge detail on our model 400 series 422 2-shape 2-sand machine with jump head. We're also going to show a miter door being clamped, and the cool thing about these miter doors is they have that finger joint, which is very strong, and the dowel. The dowel is not actually used for the strength. The dowel is being used to align the miter so that when you clamp it together, it just kind of snaps in and holds its position, and you get a nice looking miter door without having to do a lot of bumping of the part to get your nice square corners. So those dowels, that's the purpose. It's not to make it any stronger. It's plenty strong without the dowel. So Curtis is actually going to move the clamp. See how those move there? And the front is a pin and the back is a magnet. So it makes it pretty easy to move the clamps around as you have different size clamps, and then you'll notice it just kind of squares itself up. So you don't have to do any real realignment, because a single pin in the front and the ram coming to the front, it kind of lines itself up and squares the door quite easily. Okay, now that we have everything clamped together, the next order of business is to shape and sand the outside edge details. So we're going to go ahead and do these cope and stick doors first that have the raised panel, and then after that we'll move on to these miter doors with the raised panel. With these, we're actually going to use a jump head system. So if you'll notice here, it's telling him he can see that the green light's on. As soon as the part's put in, there's a red light, and that tells him to wait. So it's telling him to wait until it's ready for the next part. That way the heads can jump. And you will see them jump here shortly. See, it just jumps a little bit, but it doesn't need to move much. And that keeps it from getting blowout. And you'll notice these parts don't have blowout. Back to the end grain again. So the width grain just got finished. We're going back to end grain, and then we'll finish up with the width grain at the very end. These doors have one more spin and they'll be done. As we discussed earlier, it's ideal if you can have a return conveyor on these machines. Unique Machine and Tool does not produce return conveyors, but there are many other fine companies out there that can do this for you. And that way the part comes back to the operator without having to pay another person to return the parts to the operator. So now what we're going to do is we've turned the jump cope off, and we're just going to feed these as fast as we can with the miter doors, one right after another. We'll just keep putting those in as fast as we can. You'll see this here. There's no reason to wait. As fast as you can load them, you can go. And because we're going with the grain all the way around, we no longer need the jumping. So you'll see over here, it's just flashing saying it's good, just keep feeding. This 422 model is very nice and versatile. As you've seen it already run rails, so you've made your style cut on this machine before doing the miter and after doing the coping. This machine has done the styles. This machine has also done the raised panel and shaped and sanded that raised panel. And now this machine is doing the outside edge of the doors once they've been completed. And of course you can also run your drawer fronts through here. The beautiful thing about this machine is we have not taken any tooling off this machine or put in any tooling on this machine since we started this process. We've merely moved the spindle heads up and down or in and out to put the proper cutter in line for that operation. And the last one is finished. And now we have our 10 doors that we completed for you. 5 cope and stick doors, 5 miter doors. Total runtime was approximately 17 minutes for all of these with these 3 machines here.